how do you transfer this know-how to other people? Do you share how to make it? Do you produce it commercially or not? Do you produce it for nonprofit use?
I don't sell any substance because this would be illegal. I know that from the beginning. They tried to sue me, I don't know how many ways. I won every single lawsuit against me because I don't sell the substance. It's not my interest. My interest is in the knowledge. I'm very happy when nature makes you the gift of showing one of these little secrets, you know. So I'm happy here as a lab rat, and I like to experiment. This is my life. So my life, I'm happy with finding out things or finding solution for problem. And there's nothing more beautiful than when you can help somebody. And this is basically my motivation, because actually I don't want to be the richest of the graveyard. For what?
Right. I share your, I mean, obviously our audience is pretty advanced. They already know that this is a natural substance. It cannot be patented. Thus,
well, the audience that know, they know, but let's start for the ones that don't know and say,
yes.
How is it possible that nobody knows about that? Because in the beginning, if somebody would tell me that substance is heavily erased, well, try to upload something saying anything in the video, upload your own video and say something beautiful about chlorine dioxide and CDS, and you will see it will last very short because it is erased. This is the first fact.
You'll be banned. Yep.
The second fact is that you say, okay, where are the deaf people of this substance? And you can, as a professional, you could go into the mesh, or you can go into PubMed, where every single case has to be there. If there's a doctor that any time had a death certificate with somebody of oral chlorine dioxide, it would be there, and there's none. So none, not even one. And it is it's in the public too. For example, if the EPA documents that make it to use for drinking water, actually we drink chlorine dioxide every day, but in very little amounts, 5 ppm, not 50, let's say. So actually this substance is used in many industrial products if we need it, you know, from the poultry to in many things.
Isn't it also, it really in many ways mimics the function of the immune system itself? I mean, the immune system kills pathogens with oxygen.
The immune system uses actually bleach, hypochlorite, you know. For example, if you have the NKT, the natural killer cells, they go around, and I have a nice video on that too. They go around the cell, and you can see it's a thermo video, and so it heats up, and this is the oxidation process that denaturates the bad bugs, let's say, to all the ones any case. And nature uses oxidation for millions of years to get rid of any kind of invader, and this is how our body works. What happens if you give that stuff to the body? We have more energy. So as a biophysicist, for me, if I have to define illness, I define it as lack of energy. That's the equation. So I don't care about what is exact case. I only have cations and anions. There's nothing else. So if you have a lack of energy, your pH goes down. You get acid. You know, you have an excess of protons. And if you have an excess of protons with this substance, you can balance it again. And being in balance means having back energy. And having this energy, the body is in charge of you. Nobody else heals you than your own body. Your body is the master, and he knows what to do. And you just give him the right tool, that is oxygen on one hand, and the chlorine ion that is making exactly the same. So the oxidation process is much faster than NKT, because the NKT has a mechanical movement, and now it comes. How much molecules do we have if you drink a glass of, let's say, chlorine dioxide standard? I calculated it, and I calculated it again, and I calculated it a third time, and I said, I'm really a very bad chemist because I couldn't believe the numbers. So I went to a friend of mine, a professor of electrochemics at the University of Alicante, and said, can you help me out with that? And said, oh, no problem, this is easy. Okay, well, look at my numbers, I don't know. So she calculated it and came back to me and said, oh, Andreas, it's 433 million molecules for each red blood cell.
Well, that's because...
And that's what I said, wait a minute. So I was right. Yes, of course you were right. I said, no. Yes. This was 10 years ago because we did not know anything. We just know it heals. So
Yeah.
after that, I said, how can I prove it? Because one thing is the calculation, the theory, and then the practice. And what we later did and say, we came up, and thanks to other people that helped me, they say, so we start to make, okay, if it's a gas, we can measure it. So what we do is blood gas analytics, and we have tons of blood gas, of every kind. And you see the statistics and see, oh, wait a moment, we have till 50% more oxygen. So the calculation is absolutely true. And the speed of a molecule that is only, and now it comes, 67 mole. It's so tiny. It's very tiny.
Did you say 67 molar?
Yeah.
That's the molarity of the solution that you're putting in?
The molarity is 67, so it goes anywhere. So
wow. So, well, let me just help translate some of this for our viewers. So, what a lot of people forget is the relative sizes of molecules compared to cells. So, chlorine dioxide is a very, very tiny molecule, and by the way, Avogadro's number is a very big number, right? So, and red blood cells are huge. They're huge compared to a molecule of chlorine dioxide. There's no comparison. So what you're saying, it's flooding. It's hundreds of millions of molecules of chlorine dioxide for every red blood cell.
Exactly.
It makes sense. Some people drink small concentrations of hydrogen peroxide, for example, and that's, I think, widely touted as a treatment for cancer. All of these involve, I think, pushing excess oxygen into the blood. So give us a comparison, if you would.
So, for example, if you have an ozone therapy, ozone only gives 2 electrons. Chlorine hydroxide can give till 5. So you have a higher electron charge. Ozone has a higher voltage by 2.07, if I'm right. And chlorine dioxide is 0.95. Okay, you have to calculate it to the heat. It's not correct. It's a standard measure on 20 degrees. But it's a difference, a big difference. So you have the ozone needs a carrier. It means it needs a red blood cell as a carrier. You cannot put ozone just into the blood. It would be toxic in that way. So you have to take out the blood, mix the blood with the ozone. The blood shines. The color changes immediately. It's a beautiful red color. You put the blood in back. So the blood is enriched. So the red blood cell is enriched by ozone, but not so much the plasma. So the chlorine dioxide don't need the red blood cell because it has its own carrier. This is the basics. With hydrogen peroxide, our own body produces hydrogen peroxide. We know that. And for example, if you have a high dose vitamin C, it is not an antioxidant. It's actually an oxidant because the Fenton process release the body as an aggression, as a result to this aggression of high acidity. And then you get actually oxidizing effect when you have 10, 15, 20 grams of vitamin C. So it's a similar mode of action, but what the hydrogen peroxide has, it has hydrogen molecules. It makes it highly reactive, and then you have OH groups, and it only has 2 electrons too. So there are the little cousins, let's say. You have the little cousin is hydrogen peroxide, the brother is maybe the ozone, and the real deal is a chlorine dioxide.
I see.
So yes, you get oxygen with it, but you will. It's similar. It's very similar, but we always need the oxygen carrier, and that's a problem.
Yes.
So you have something you don't need the oxygen carrier, and it gets everywhere. So the blood-brain barrier is just like a huge door of a, I don't know, boat.
But like you said, it's good to dose this out in small doses over a long period of time, because otherwise your body will naturally simply eliminate or use up that oxygen.
Yes, the main problem of chlorine dioxide is the main advantage. It gets used up.
Yes, the uptake is very rapid.
There are some people, the classic method of more is better, it's not right. More often is better. So it is, if you say, I drink 1 liter in 1 hour, it brings nothing. But if you make half a liter in 24 hours, it can be more effective.
I see. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. What many ICU doctors, even in New York City, have discovered is that it's really a disease of hypoxia. Patients are dying from lack of oxygen. There's blood coagulation and clotting. Hemoglobin is dysfunctional in many cases. Lung tissue is, this is not an acute respiratory disease syndrome, ARDS, as is typically called. This is really a blood chemistry issue more than anything else. And it seems like there's no better substance to treat this immediately, I mean within seconds, than chlorine dioxide.
Right. So we had cases where the people came to the hospital and they needed to be intubated or go because they had a saturation of 50%, totally cyanotic. Not one, many of them. And they are like really in a bad shape, and the doctors give it to them. And a few hours later, you can see them sitting in the chair, still weak, obviously, but they can sit up and they can speak. And the doctors with the phone is asking the people, saying, "Oh, I'm much better now, unbelievable." So I'm now collecting all that stuff. I will make a video, and I will ask for permission in the future to be able to show it to the people, because people should see that how the change is amazing. So the doctors are waking up, and last week I said we make a Zoom call for the doctors of Ecuador, and it was, well, the maximum was 1,000 people, and it was full. There were more, because they already use it, and the doctor said it's amazing. So this Saturday we have another meeting because of this COMUSAF group, it's called, and they will share in the group all their experiences. You wouldn't believe it. It's amazing. And the interesting thing is, when they came up and said, well, I had a patient, 71 years, diabetic, and really with no saturation. He was in a shape. I said, he will not survive till tomorrow. And so in the end, we put it in the veins. After a few days, he was okay. And the interesting thing is, when they measure then the diabetes, they have to reduce the metformin to 50%. Because I never had such good blood values.
Will almost certainly come from outside the United States and Western Europe. Ecuador in particular, I used to live there, so I know that there's actually an open-mindedness among the people of Ecuador to explore all kinds of alternative medicines or complementary medicines or even botanical medicines. A lot of people still grow medicine there. They grow food. It's actually a more self-reliant population than what we have in Western Europe and America.
You're totally right. For example, if you don't have chlorine dioxide, you can use Artemisia annua.
Right.
It's a plant. It works, artemisinin, it works great on that stuff too, because it has an oxygen ring even, for example, the 1,2,3, it's a very interesting chemical compound, and it works.
And that treats malaria as well. But in the United States then, and in the UK in particular, we have these big pharma-dominated political institutions where, frankly, I think they don't care how many people die as long as they maintain their monopolies. So in the United States, we've had 100,000 plus deaths from COVID-19. I think our audience needs to understand that is the cost of censorship of natural medicine. 100,000 people are dead because Big Pharma wants to make money.